Hello, and welcome to a new series called Digital Darkroom. And my name is Benjamin Bro, and I am a photographer based in Poland. And this series is an educational series about photo editing, and it's to be a companion to the series I've been writing on my blog at aperture64.wordpress.com about photo editing, with the aim of the series to start from the very basics, moving slowly up until we get to slightly more advanced ideas in editing photographs. So the series is going to be based in Lightroom and Photoshop, which is a really good combo if you have the Adobe CC or Adobe Creative Cloud plan. It's quite cheap, or quite reasonably priced, especially for those in the US, and it's pretty good. I've been using Lightroom for a few years now. I did try out Lightroom version 1 many moons ago, and I didn't like it, but I've stuck with this one, and it's perfectly fine. I've been with it since Lightroom 4 now. Lightroom was originally created as a file management program, and there's a lot actually in the program about file management. You can also use Adobe Bridge, which comes with Photoshop, and you can use Adobe Camera Raw to edit raw files in there. And a lot of things that you'll see in Adobe Camera Raw, you will actually find in the develop module of this program. And although if you want to know more about Adobe Camera Raw with the editing, if you read the actual blog posts, there's a lot written in there comparing the two. But for this video series, I'm just going to be concentrating on showing off Lightroom, basically, because 90% of all your work can actually be done in Lightroom. The first part of the series is going to be looking at file management and how you can manage your files and save yourself a lot of headache later. So we can look here, and we have a few things on the side here which are part of the file management, which jump out like this. If you have it on a solid screen, on a solid triangle, it will always be there. If you click it, it goes back in, no problems. And if you then float over, it pops out. And the same here with this menu down here. You can do the same, and you can even do it with the menu up here. So on this side bit here we're going to look at, we have a few options. We have navigation, which has the options of viewing the pictures, the zooming in, fit, fill, all those things. The catalog, which actually is quite important, and folders. Now, the catalog and the folders is two areas where people sometimes get a little bit confused. The folders is when we will import a picture, will be where the photo is, the actual place on a hard drive where the photo is. The catalog is what in Lightroom stores the information about the photo. So in the catalog will be all the editing information, all the metadata, and all the extra things you add in on top. Whereas in the folder, there will just be the original photo untouched. So all the editing you do happens in the catalog, and the folder stays untouched here. The picture stays untouched in the folder. Now, there's one problem that can sometimes happen is when you move folders, you move folders about, you move pictures about, and you do it outside of Lightroom. So you do it in either whatever the file management you have in your system is. So for me, it'll be like in the Explorer. And if you do that and Lightroom doesn't know about it, Lightroom gets a little bit upset. And it sort of says, well, these photos don't exist, and they're no longer, and they cannot be found. And it can be a little bit problematic. In some cases, you can actually lose all the editing information, so you need to be a little bit careful when you move things around. And it's generally a good idea to move things within Lightroom, so Lightroom knows where things are. So probably the best thing to do is actually to import some photos, and you can see how that works. Now, when you import, you can actually, this sounds like a strange word because it can have two meanings. When you import a photo, what it does is it's either adding a photo from your hard drive to the catalog, or it's downloading the photo from your SD card or from your camera to a folder and then adding them to the catalog. So you use import even if the photos are already on your hard drive. And I'll just show that now. So we click import, and it's picked up my SD card. and it's also picked up the other hard drives. So if I wanted to import them from the other hard drives, I can click and then select the folder where they are. But this is my SD card, and these are the photos. So here you have a few options. You have all photos, new photos, and destination folders. New photos, it basically goes through the card and it selects all the new photos automatically. If you use all photos, it'll copy all the photos. And then destination folder you can use for grouping together photos to go to different destinations. That's quite useful if you've got one SD card and you've taken like 5 days worth of photos, and each day you're in a different place. You can then import it to separate destinations, and you don't have to worry about doing that later on or organizing things later on. So that sort of removes a lot of work for you. You can also choose to copy your files as DNGs, and what this means is it won't actually copy your exact file into Lightroom, but it will make an Adobe RAW file, basically. That doesn't mean that if you shot in JPEG or you've been shooting in TIFF that you now have a RAW file. It just converts it to this file format. And the same goes that it just converts your RAW pictures, so either your Canon RAW, your Nikon RAW, or whatever, your Sony RAW files, to the Adobe format. Now, there's a little pros and cons and some arguments you can make about doing this, legacy of formats and things, but that's not really so important, for this video. So we're just going to select a few pictures. I'm just going to do this randomly. That's the same photo. I don't know. I like to bracket shoot, so we'll see. Oh, that looks like a nice one there. It's the same harbor, but that's okay. So let's uncheck all, then we'll only check the ones I want. You can view the photos in a grid mode like this, or you can view them as a sort of one-to-one preview that you can then zoom in and look at if you want to. Okay, so that's all the ones I want. And now we go to where we're going to put the photos to and how we're going to handle the photos. So the file handling, like build previews, so you can choose different ways to build the preview. If you want a one-to-one, a standard, a minimal, embedded, so the different quality of the preview. You can add a smart preview if you wanted to. I'm not too keen about them because it sort of builds it's an extra amount of information that it adds to the files. Don't import selected duplicates. That's quite useful. So if you copy any pictures over, it's not going to copy any that you already have. And make a copy to a second. Make a second copy. So if you have a backup plan, you have a second or third hard drive, use the backup. You can click that and make sure copies of the files go there, just in case something goes wrong. You're also able to add to a collection, and collections we'll look at later. And you can create a collection, especially for these photos. So let's say it was like summer holidays. You can just do summer hauls, for example, and you can click create, and then it will create a collection here. And collections we'll look at in a moment. But for my case, we're just going to use episode 1. You then have file renaming, where you can do batch file renaming. This is quite useful if you are needing to rename all the files. So, for example, change all the files to holiday, a place, and then you can have things like custom name, then original sequence number, and things like that. Really useful for if you've done a wedding shoot or something like that, because you can just add all the file, have the name of the couple or something like this, and then put the date or something underneath, so it makes it easy. It makes it easy to search. There we go. You have your development settings, which you can automatically, if you have a preset, which we will look at in later videos, apply to photos. So you can automatically apply, like for example, a black and white preset if all the photos you're importing you want to have as black and white. Metadata, you can add in all the information, and you can actually create a preset for your metadata of your name, your address, copyright information, shoot information, and the information about the shoot and things like that. And you can also add keywords here for the photos. Keywords are quite important if you are wanting to upload them onto your blog or a website, because they can be searched by Google. So if someone was to then search, for example, summer Cornwall Harbor, because they're being really specific, you can then just sort of send that off, and it'll be added to the file's metadata. And then when you export, it'll be searchable. And the last place is your destination, where you're going to put your pictures. And this is sort of part of the organization, and you need to sort of think beforehand how you're going to organize your photos. I tend to do it by date, but I would also put things in subfolders. If it was like a vacation or a holiday, I'll type in like where, and then I'll have all the photos then organized by date within there. Or maybe even within the subfolder, maybe within a subfolder of that holiday, I could even have the place name or something like this. But I'm just going to call this one digital darkroom, and I'll import it, organize it just by date, and it'll be fine. So when we click import, we can just go, okay, ready, import. And now all the pictures are imported. So here we can start looking a little bit at collections. And so we have our 6 pictures because they were imported into the collection. And then we have the 6 pictures which are on the folder, which are in the folder. And the way to sort of distinguish between collections and folder is this is just pictures just grouped together. And in the catalog, it's saying that there is a collection, and these are a group of pictures collected there. They still are in this folder. If you were to go to this folder in like Explorer or something like this, you will find the photos physically there. And this is just a grouping within Lightroom. And collections can be quite good for generally grouping together photos. So you've been on holiday and you want to have all the best photos grouped together. That's easy. You just sort of let's just say we just select these 2, and like, okay, these 2 are the best, and we can have them in the collection. So we just remove these. Where are we going here? So we can just click, and then we can just remove those from the collection. Now, as you can see, the collection now has 2 photos, but the folder still has 6. So if we go to the folder, they're all still there, and we can even then add them back in if we wanted to. If we're going to behave, there we go. We can then add them all back into the collection if we want to. There's no sort of need to worry about removing things from the collection. Now in the collection you can create a collection set. So you can create a set called portfolio and create, and then inside the portfolio collection you can create a collection and call it, for example, landscape. And then what you can have is you can then take one of the photos. So let's say this one is unedited and portfolio ready. The dunk. That's the best photo ever. Amazing. I will win an award for it. And so here we have that photo is now in this landscape collection, but it's also still in our collection of episode 1 as well. And all 6 are still available in the main folder. So that's really what collections are. It's a way of collecting things. And you can use that to sort of say, for example, I'll use the case of like summer holidays again, and then inside you can then create the sub collections or the smaller collections of different places. But if you click the overall one, you'll then have all the pictures together. And I'll just do a quick example of that. So we just create a collection. Let's for example landscape 2, the return. We will not include the selected one. And in landscape 2, we're going to just go back to here. We'll just put that one in landscape 2 just for argument's sake. So if we click here, we have 1 photo, here 1 photo, but in the portfolio, but in the overall folder, both are there. The other side here we have publishing settings, and you can set this up so that you can share pictures automatically to Facebook, things like that, with like a one-click sort of idea, with all sorts of presets and things set up. And if we go over to the other side, you actually have the histogram of your picture. You actually can't do anything in here apart from just look at it, and it will give some basic information of like the shutter speed, aperture, focal length, and the ISO the picture was taken at. You can actually here make some very basic editing adjustments to a picture. You can, if you have a preset already in the delete module, which we'll look at in a later video, you can sort of click black and white filters, blue filter, or even black and white filters, red filter, give us the nice dark sky. That looks gay. And you can just sort of go, make some very basic, adjustments here to the photo, maybe just tweaking it, as a preview really. But there's not a lot of editing, you can actually do here. And if you want to go back, you can go back to default settings and it just automatically resets it all for you. As you scroll down, you have keywords. You can add even more keywords. Oops, sunny. And actually it will come up with, the more keywords you write, the more suggestions it will actually give you based on previous keywords. You have a keyword list where you can actually search for pictures. So in here, if we wrote the word sunny, we have the one photo, and we can pick up the one photo only with sunny. So it's quite a smart idea. Let's go back to the folder. I'll delete that for a second. And then in here you can fill in all the sort of metadata. You can change the file name, add a copy name, and things like this. One last thing I'll just touch on before I finish is if you right click, you can either set a flags, which means you can then search by if a picture has been flagged or not within a folder or within a collection. You can set a rating, which is a star rating, and you can use a color label. The ratings are on your keyboard are basically 0 is none, then 1 to 5, and then the colors go 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That's quite a good idea if you're wanting to go through and just like quickly select pictures, but you're like, oh, that's okay, that's okay, that's okay, that's okay. I generally use a color rating because that's what I used to use in Adobe Bridge. So I go like 6, next, 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 6. If I go into preferences, you can change it so that once you've made a selection or chosen or flagged a picture, it automatically moves on to the next one. And if you click the red bit here, it's only going to select the red pictures. And the same as if we had a picture with just two stars, and we click 2, it's only going to select that picture. So there we go. So that's sort of the basic introduction to like your importing and some quick basic file management. The best thing to do is just to keep the file management on the front end, so you don't have to worry about it after you've done all your editing and things, moving things around and such like that, because it just makes things a lot easier. Okay, I'll try and keep the videos around about 10 minutes, but this one's gone a bit longer. And if you want to read the whole post, including things about Adobe Camera Raw, you can do so on my blog at aperture64.wordpress.com, and you'll find the actual link directly to the post in the description below. So until next time, thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.